reptilians, and more on the Hey You Made Your Movie Show.
It's the Hey You Made Your Movie Show!
Filmmaker, welcome to another episode of the Hey You Made Your Movie Show, a show where we have honest conversations with filmmakers about the process of making their movie. I am your host, Carl Diamond, and on this episode, I had the opportunity to speak with one filmmaker by the name of John Valley, a man who made his debut feature, a feature called Duncan, which is not out yet, but has been hitting the festival circuit and has been getting praise! I had a great conversation with John Valley. He had a lot to say about being a filmmaker in Austin, Texas. You should pay attention to the things he says, because they could help you on your career. One side note though, the audio in here is a little cattywampus, if I must say. The powers that be tried to silence John. When this truth is spoken, you know that the powers that be will fight back. Ah! Before I roll the trailer for Duncan, please hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes of the Hey You Made Your Movie Show. Alright, now that business is out of the way, here is the trailer for John Valley's Duncan. Enjoy, filmmaker. Enjoy.
Just doesn't make any sense.
So you think Terry Lee's a fake, but you believe in lizard people?
Of course I believe in lizard people.
Then why is it so hard to believe that they're keeping kids in a basement?
Look, you came marching into a public forum tonight proposing open war against a technologically superior race of ancient reptilian humanoids, am I right?
We're already at war.
Well, we can't just go down to Austin and waltz into the lizard stronghold demanding to see the children in the basement.
Lizard Illuminati, Toots Pizza, out of Austin, Texas.
Yet no one's looking into it. No FBI, no ATF, no one. The government's hiding something.
Hey, I think you should leave your camera behind. It looks suspicious.
If we even live to see this footage, it'll be bigger than you or me.
All right. But I'll have to prove the final cut before it's released to theaters.
What's the,
Problem?
Well, I bet you automatically think I'm a racist or something.
I don't know, are you?
Tell me about the militia.
I need someone like you to help me with the tactical side.
If something does go wrong in there, you're gonna have to be the one that evacuates. You got the footage.
A pizza delivery service has become the scene of a deadly shootout.
We've been told that at least 3 employees from Toots Pizza
And what y'all think it is? I ain't a white nationalist.
Duncan?
I ain't a killer.
These are the times we're living in, people. And if you're not scared, then you're asleep.
John Valley, hey, you made your movie.
So you went to the University of Iowa. Are you from Iowa? Where are you from?
Yeah. Born and raised in Iowa, grew up in a small little town right smack dab in the middle, and then went to the University of Iowa for about 2.5 years in Iowa City, which is the eastern half of the state.
So how do you get to Texas?
You're sort of faced with the choice of, do I stay put and try to make something here, which you could? Do I go to LA or New York, one of these more traditional locations for film markets? Or do you kind of seek out these smaller towns like Austin? And it was just kind of deductive reasoning, looking at the numbers. And I had this fear that if I were to go to one of these larger cities, it would just kind of crush the number one asset that I had, which was just self-starting kind of behavior. I'm pretty good at getting the ball rolling with projects. And the last thing I wanted to have happen to me was be completely smashed by financial burden, because I knew that I was going to move there and need to continue pretty actively working on this stuff if I was going to have any type of fighting chance at someday surviving off of it. And so Austin felt like a really nice, launching pad. And then of course, once I got here, you find out that no, there's people that live and die here, and there's a whole culture here, and location is really just what you make of it. That said, obviously a city like LA or New York is gonna create more exposure for yourself. There's more opportunity. By and large, my work here in Austin has all been kind of self-started. There's not a lot of people seeking me out or trying to hire me to do anything, or jobs that I can kind of apply to.
Austin seems pretty cool. I've heard some pretty cool stories about it.
It's great. I really do love it here. It's changing very rapidly. And that financial dread that I was speaking of is becoming a reality here. I mean, it's getting pretty expensive to live here. It's crazy. I've been here for a little over 10 years, and I'm discovering groups of filmmakers that, have been here just as long, if not longer, that I've never even heard of, and they're doing really cool work. It happens all around the city, and it's just a great place to be. So I moved to Texas in 2009. I always knew that I wanted to just keep making features, but obviously it had been a while since I made one, and I'd just been making music videos up until then, and acting in a bunch of stuff and writing a bunch until just writing until I found something that I was ready to embrace wholeheartedly for 2 years. Because once you do a feature, you understand that commitment, that you really got to stay in love with it for a couple years. It's not just about seeing it through to the end of principal photography or post-production. I mean, you're catching me in a phase right now where I have to now go out and prophesize it and tell everybody how great it is. And I've just spent 2 years staring at every frame very intimately, for better or worse. And so you have to learn how to find something that you're going to stay passionate about. And so it was a combination of the actual story that the movie is based on and the lead actor of the movie. Once I met him, and once I had this story to work with, or this character as it were, then I knew that was something I would be able to be interested in for a couple years. And so once that happens, and once you're able to get a script on paper, then you just go. You just pull the trigger on it and check all the boxes as you go. And it was just, the movie is very, very loosely based on the Pizzagate conspiracy, which is sort of the small version of what QAnon has become, which I think more people today are far more familiar with QAnon than they are Pizzagate, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we should just say for the viewers what Pizzagate is.
Yeah, so ahead. Pizzagate, it spawned out of the WikiLeaks email dump within the Clinton campaign between John Podesta and Clinton aides and Clinton herself. And some psycho went through all these emails and saw the numerous mentions of cheese pizza, and evidently that was code for a pedophilia ring, not the more obvious thing that it's a moving campaign where they're going to multiple states in a single day. And so probably the easiest meal that they can provide all of their crew is pizza. Anybody that's worked on a film set knows that pizza is sort of the go-to quick and cheap food to feed a overworked army that's barely being paid.
Yeah.
However,
and everyone likes cheese.
And everyone likes cheese, yeah. However, the internet did what the internet does best, and it kind of ruined it. And out of it emerged this conspiracy theory that this was all code for a secret worldwide pedophilia ring that was headquartered out of pizza parlors across the country. Okay. And they were connected by underground tunnels. They were, in some versions of the Pizzagate narrative, ran by the lizard Illuminati.
Reptilians.
Reptilians. I mean, it spans the whole gamut of conspiracy theory best hits.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah.
All the classics.
Yeah. And so it starts on the fringes of the internet, 4chan, 8chan, Reddit, and then it makes it into people like Alex Jones's mouths and other right-wing radio personalities and internet personalities. And it really kind of starts to gain attention in the underground until it sort of culminates with this man who believes it so fervently that he drove across state lines with multiple guns and targeted this pizza place in DC called Comet Ping Pong. And his belief being that there was a basement where all of these children who had been kidnapped as part of this sex trafficking syndicate were being held in this basement. So his thinking was, I'm going to go there, guns blazing, and I'm going to free these children. And of course he gets there and finds out that it's just a regular ass pizza place, and that in fact there is no basement, and that they are not part of a worldwide cabal of Satanist lizard people, and then gives himself up to the police after firing a round off inside of this pizza place. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but it really, really screwed up a lot of people's lives, including the gunman's life, in that he's, currently in prison right now. And I just found that really fascinating, that in 2016 at the time, how careless and kind of how ill-informed and stupid somebody could be to do this and pull off such a crazy mission. What drives somebody to do that? So that was kind of the nugget of the idea, that I want to tell some story about a guy that's that gullible and so easily swayed by media and conspiracy theory. And then I met this actor who plays Duncan on the set of another feature that he and I were acting on. And we just became fast friends. And there was sort of an aha moment where it all just kind of came together in my head very quickly. And I was able to write the script in about 30 days. And then once it came out very fast. And I had this script in my hands that came out quicker than what most of my projects come out as. So I was kind of shocked by it and showed it to my cinematographer. I showed it to my partner, she became one of the producers on the film. And I showed it to this actor, and they were all just sort of like, I think this is a movie. I don't really see any issue with this. I think we could make this. And we were all just really hungry to make a feature. And so we didn't really ask too many questions, and we just sort of barreled ahead. And 4 months later, we were shooting it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was a very fast and kind of crazed couple years.
So you tackled something that QAnon's very big in this country right now, unfortunately, but at the same time, conspiracy theory in general, once you bring it up or make some sort of art form about it, you do tend to attract conspiracy theorists. Has anyone peculiar contacted you?
Oh yeah. I mean, oddly enough, as I was about to roll the movie out and try to sell it on my own, I was preparing to release it on my own. The very first thing that happened once I made the trailer public is a QAnon believer took the trailer, posted it on their Twitter account, and it blew up and was just filled with this army of some real people and some bots, I imagine, all kind of rallying behind it, being like, this is Hollywood elite. They're trying to delegitimize Pizzagate and QAnon by turning it into a comedy and making a joke out of it. And we have to stop these people. We have to make sure this movie gets blocked, and this is what they do. And it caused such a fervor that then it put this big spotlight on the movie for a moment. And I got all this like press out of it. The trailer views were like tens of thousands. And here I am now getting to negotiate potential distribution deals because the very people who wanted to delegitimize my movie legitimized it. So the majority of the attention that I'm getting from it are like a cocktail of death threats and mocking posts here and there. And again, you never know which ones are real or not. You look at half of these comments and it's 0 subscribers. They've been active for 4 or 5 days. For all I know, it could be some of my cast members or crew people just trying to like stir some shit up just to get some like eyes on it. I've even had people ask me if I'm any of the people that are doing it and if it was part of the design to create controversy around the release of this movie. And I mean, I had nothing to do with it beyond cutting the trailer myself and releasing it in the manner that I did. But it's a strange kind of turn of events for it in terms of the attention that it's getting.
That is weird, because usually when those guys get involved, like careers can be ruined or like very dramatic things can happen. But I mean, they helped you out despite their best efforts.
And it's all so fucking silly. And it just speaks to the greater issue of where people's priorities are and where their concerns are, that they think that taking down some like small fry filmmaker from Austin, Texas is the answer to their problems. If I make a good sale with this movie and it leads to future success and that I can make my next movie with it, that I'll be able to trace it back to these bullies online kind of coming after me. It'll be just such a sweet revenge.
Them even saying that it's a comedy even misses the point, because I don't think it's a comedy. I when I watched it, it felt like straight up John Carpenter satire, man.
Yeah.
Like they live like that's it's like that, where it's like you have a guy and he's fighting a conspiracy. Yeah, I think that's like a really quick and easy way to describe the movie.
that's also very accurate is I like to think of it as sort of the hybrid of They Live and The King of Comedy. If they came together, the movie that would come out of it would be Duncan.
The movie obviously veers a little. You do have creative license with the Pizzagate as far as what actually happens when Duncan gets to the pizzeria.
Yes.
That's where it splits. And we kind of veer off into themes of militia and private state militias, which are in our Constitution, but they almost, in the film, they almost come off as a gun club that has delusions of grandeur.
I would argue that most militias, if they don't suffer that, they have to mitigate that. I can't imagine a single militia operating with a full deck of cards completely. And so the militia culture that I try to sort of like express in the movie, I tried to be fair in that I show a spectrum of people that are involved in it, from people who are doing it in good faith to people who are doing it as a means to point their gun at somebody and pull the trigger under the umbrella of righteousness and the Second Amendment. So much of my interest in filmmaking is just character studies and characters, storytelling by way of character, which I think is kind of inseparable. I think story is character, character is story. But I didn't really understand that about myself, despite having made as much shit as I've made over the years. I think meeting Tynus and seeing what he had to offer and seeing the depth of his ability, it presented this perspective for me that I'll kind of take with me to the grave, is that you got to have a character at the center of these things that drive everything and that people can kind of vicariously live through, or at least observe honestly. And there's something about his, Tynus is very much in touch with his like inner self, and has an extremely cool way of bringing that in front of a camera. He's pretty fearless. He was prepared to do just about anything for this project, which is extremely liberating as a filmmaker. I owe so much of the movie to him, in that I don't think I would have been able to write that script. I wouldn't have been able to cast it without him, because all of the casting decisions came in the wake of what he was bringing to the room, because he was there for the casting sessions. He read with everybody. And then now, having gone through the entire gauntlet of making the thing technically, now when I watch the movie, I just see how much he saves it for all of its warts and cracks. It survives on the heart that Tynus brought to the character, because the movie's not perfect. I mean, there's some hiccups along the way, and it is a low budget movie, but there's something undeniable about his performance that I'm just still in awe of. It's very cool to watch him perform. It was thorough, it was long-winded, and very, very tough. But that aside, it's just the basics, just fundamentals. You put out a nice, professionally written audition with all the relevant information, and you set up an apparatus to receive those many submissions that we got, ranging from really unprofessional to professional and to extremely special. And we rented out a space, and off we went. We just started seeing people one by one. The thing that was unique about it is that it was, for the most part, entirely local.
That's cool.
I think everybody is from Austin that acted in it, which is very cool. It gave the movie just that much more of a legitimate spirit to it in regard to being an Austin movie, which I think it is. I think it feels like Austin. And there's just not a lot of actors, so it became very tough. And it became hard for me in the back end, because so many of the actors were friends of mine, and so many people that I knew. And being an actor myself, I know how hard it is, and the psychological warfare that you play with yourself as an actor when you go through these audition processes, because I had to choose at the end of the day who got the roles and who didn't. And some of the people, for instance, the character that I played, it's like one of the main characters in the fucking movie. And it's arguably the most exciting role. If I were not making this movie and all I would have had to do was focus on the role, I would have had a blast. It's probably the best role I've ever had. But because I was making the movie and dealing with everything else with the movie, it was very stressful and very difficult for me to play the role. But that said, the actors that auditioned for that role were outstanding, and they came so prepared and they were so eager to play this character. But it really boiled down to who had the best chemistry with Tynus. And I think because I had spent so many hours with Tynus up until this point, and I wrote the character for him, that I was just so easily like set beside him. I could kind of fit into his groove because I just wrote a script for him. So I knew exactly how to play his nemesis. But had it not been for that, it could have been anybody else. It had nothing to do with the ability of the other actors that performed for us in those auditions. So it was really tough. I had to like have some tough conversations with people that I love. All told, it was good. We got through. I don't think we ever went over a single day by more than about 10 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was 22 days of shooting, 6-day weeks. So it took us from October 1st right up to the end of October, and we had a handful of overnight shoots kind of buried right in the middle of production, so it got pretty like kooky there for a while with everyone's rhythm.
Any wild stories?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's like we pulled off something pretty amazing, and for the most part we got through it, but you know, of course things happen on a day-to-day basis. Of course things go wrong. Of course people don't show up on time and people freak out. But the hardest thing about it was, as prepared as we were, I mean, we had the movie like down to every single shot was storyboarded, and we had it totally figured out because we knew that we were sort of punching above our weight class. So we had to be exceptionally prepared. But it's when you find out that people just weren't prepared for the challenge of making a movie, but it's too late. You've already started, and you have no team to kind of lean on to replace people or to fix the problems. And so the hardest thing about it becomes learning how to recognize when it's happening, when somebody is A, trying to screw you, or B, they're just not cut out for it and they're trying, but they over committed. And learning how to see what they are bringing to the table and how to like direct what they have to offer towards the production and make it useful and not get too bent out of shape about it. Because you know, it's very easy to get to feel like you're personally attacked by these people and it has nothing to do with it. But you know, then you have your just regular ass accidents that happen. There's a pretty extensive one-take action sequence that happens right in the kind of middle of the movie surrounding the pizza place, if you can recall.
I recall it.
It's sort of when the movie kind of just bursts open and the lid is pulled off of the insanity that's been brewing. And it's about a 60-second one-take action sequence that we had the entire night booked for. It was a pretty big location. We had to do a bunch of decal on this pizza place, and there was a lot of moving parts. And it was an overnighter, and it was in the middle of production. So everyone's tired, they're all out of whack. And we have to do this action sequence where the first bit of action is Tynus, our lead actor, has to catch about a 15-pound 12-gauge shotgun swinging down on him at his face. And this other character is about to shoot him point blank with a shotgun. Mm-hmm. And Tynus's first move out the gate is that he has to put up his arm and catch it, right, to block the barrel from going off on his face. And we spent the first half of the day slowly rehearsing the sequence, making sure the camera and all the special effects and the traffic in the background is all like incongruous with each other. And everybody's got it down to a T. And everybody is excelling, and they're all excited, and it looks fantastic, and we're ready to rock. And we call action, and here comes the gun, and Tynus turns to catch the gun, and it misses by about an inch, and it dislocates his thumb, and then the barrel drops right down on his nose and splits his nose open.
Oh, God.
He kind of is stunned for a second, and my character is in this sequence as well, and I had to drive a car off set for part of the sequence. I was part of the traffic in the background. But I also had a walkie-talkie with me in the car so I could kind of watch everything going down from across the street. And I could hear the chatter, and I had a lapel mic and everything. So you just hear all the conversation happening over the mics. And it's like, oh, I think Tynus just got hit. Oh, I think he just got his face split open. But Tynus kept going. Like, he and the actor both just, like, when you look at the footage, there's like a half second where they make eye contact to make sure that the guy who was swinging the gun at him is kind of like, are you okay? And they just instantly jump back into it, and they keep going, and they finish the sequence, and everybody does their part. And then we call cut, and we all look at Tynus, and he's just got like blood running down his face. And he's like, I think I might have broke my nose. And we're all just freaking out because there's a whole nother week of production that we have to do. And I'm sitting here thinking like, are we going to have to drive him to the hospital? Is this going to be stitches? Like, did he get hit hard enough that he has a concussion? And he kind of looks at me and he's clear-eyed and he says, I think I'm okay though. He's like, my face is really numb, but I think I'm okay. What happened was the double-barreled shotgun landed directly on his nose. And because he's wearing these giant fucking glasses, they caught most of the brunt of the shotgun. And so it just split his nose underneath his glasses. So we were able to stop the bleeding, clear it away, and you could set the glasses in such a way that they covered the 2 gashes on his nose, and it didn't swell. And then we were able to go for 10 more takes after that, and he was fine. And we came back to the next week of production. You can't tell that for a handful of the scenes at the beginning of the movie, he's got these 2 gashes on his nose because his glasses are covering it. Yeah, on set, I try to be just like Zen master as much as I can. I am a big believer in the trickle-down effect, that if the core crew of people are losing their minds, then you're going to lose the confidence in your crew. And if you lose your crew, it doesn't matter how good of a director you are or how good of a cinematographer you are. If you lose your crew, the movie is lost. It lives and dies with the health of a crew, psychologically, physically, resource-wise, everything. Because of that, I do an immense amount of pre-production, an immense amount of preparation, and I spoil as much of the magic for myself as possible leading up to the production so that there's no question. Because the reality is that as soon as you start rolling the camera, the movie becomes a completely different thing and it becomes its own thing. So I just want to have that apparatus to lean on, knowing that once we start, it's kind of an evolving monster. And so because of that, I like to just stay as kind of calm, quiet as possible and to stay engaged with the actors as much as you can. Make sure that they understand, remind them where they're coming from, where they're going on any particular day, because you shoot a movie out of order. We got through the first week of production and we were starting to get pretty behind. And the cinematographer and I, who have worked together a lot previously, we sort of had a come to Jesus talk where we had to realize that we had to scrap a lot of our plan and start reinventing some of the shot structures in order to get through the script faster on the day. We had to cover more pages in a single day. So we adopted this long take kind of choreographed shooting technique because, where we were lacking in our ability to move the entire army together as one, he and I could make up with, along with a really, really great focus puller to kind of keep up with us. So if we could organize between a group of 3 people, a really intricate camera movement that covered more pages, then all we got to do is just put the actors down and let them do their thing, and then we're the ones who are having to execute at a faster pace. It's easier to get that to move quicker than a whole army of actors and crew. And then the beauty of that becomes nobody wants to be the one person to fuck up the shot.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you're doing like an extended take and you got through 75% of it and it's your part and you're just passing through the background, you don't want to be the one who spikes the lens. You don't want to be the one who drops their prop. So everybody's attention kind of goes through the roof. And all of a sudden there's like an electricity that you can feel in the room and everybody starts operating a little bit more sharper. Yeah, it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. The script is very, very tightly knit, and there is a cadence and sort of a sing-songy nature to the way these characters have to speak. So that's when I would kind of get into that realm of doing line readings for the actors, or I would kind of manipulate their pace, because there is sort of a cadence to it that feeds the comedy or the comedic timing, and it feeds the sort of like greater tone of the movie, and that this isn't realism. That said, in the casting process, yeah, you try to look at what do these people bring to the table? Who are they when you talk to them just about anything? I know that sometimes Woody Allen, when he casts, he won't even have them read from the script. He'll just have a 20-minute conversation with the person. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be that person in front of the camera. Even if they're the world's best actor or they have 10 pounds of makeup on them, it's still going to be that person's heart and soul behind the performance.
That's an interesting... I've heard directors do that, like Lynch has done that. I've read, and Woody Allen. It's smart, because it's not only is it that person in front of the camera, but you have to work with that person for months.
Yeah.
And if you can't get along with them, if you don't like them, it makes it a hard job. Yeah.
It's the worst. Post was great. I edited it. That's its own kind of marathon, but I really enjoy editing, and I love the kind of the rewriting that you get to do with the project in that process.
It can be magic, man. It's amazing. Yeah. It's like, oh man, I didn't even think about this, and then
yeah, and I think it's a very unique aspect to the filmmaking process. I think understanding editing as much as you can really informs you as a writer and as a director pre-production and during photography. So I really enjoyed doing that, and scoring the movie was really great. I had every intention to work with traditional composer for the movie, but because of time and money and just where I was at with the project, I kind of had to jump into that seat with a partner and score the movie, which was super fun.
Are you a musician?
I am now.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. No, I'm a musician. I was in a band for a number of years, but I don't know how to write music or read music. But I was in a band. I've done a lot of musical theater. I've done dozens of music videos. So I understand aspects of music insofar as being able to score for a movie. And because of the John Carpenter nature of the movie, I feel like that kind of allowed me to push that like a little bit further in that, like, okay, I'm going to do an all synth score, and I'm going to be the one to score it again with a partner, just to sort of continue that Carpenter style approach to the filmmaking process. And like Carpenter, it came out of a lot of just financial...
Confines is the better word.
I'm not going to be able to pay somebody enough to care about it as much as they should. Mm-hmm. And the score really, really does change the movie or complement the movie. And so you have to be very intimate about it. And that's not to suggest that these people I was prepared to work with wouldn't have done that, but I just didn't know them. And I didn't know their work enough, and I didn't know them enough to feel comfortable with giving them that and spending a shitload of money on them. It would have been a lot of money to me and not enough money for what they were giving me. So it was just that combination where it's like, well, fuck, I got to do this, because I know that I'm not going to let this get out the door without it being totally in line and in touch with the spirit of the movie. And fortunately, I had a partner that was right there with me, and his contributions to the score are some of the best parts, if not the best parts of the score.
Awesome.
And so it was just super fun.
And you get to walk away with that experience of scoring your film. You know, and that's going to help you later when you probably have to make another one, and you're not going to. You might need to employ that skill again. So
yes,
that's awesome.
It makes me feel better about the egotistical move of putting my name above the movie as well, because I can truly say that this is John Valley's Duncan, because I wrote, directed, acted, edited, scored, and all things in between. Marketed the movie.
So you're really into Carpenter, I take it.
Yeah. I mean, I think as much as any. I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah. I think every year I watch Escape from New York. I don't know. I'm just compelled to do it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That is a desert island movie for sure.
What other directors are you into?
Oh, I sure like Cronenberg. I like David Lynch quite a bit. Kubrick. Scorsese, of course. I mean, these kind of the biggies. I feel like I steal the most from like David Lynch and Carpenter and Cronenberg, though.
it's hard not to steal from Lynch, because I think when if you really dig Lynch and you watch like a Lynch movie, like I just want to do everything. I just want to copy everything this man does. It's like I want to go do this. I want to have a scene where people talk weird to each other, and then there's like a man in geisha makeup who records me on it with a camera.
Yeah, and there's all the content that like is so admirable about his work, but then just the technical execution of some of that stuff is so inspiring. Like the cinematography in Blue Velvet or Elephant Man is enough to make you want to be a filmmaker. And the sound design, obviously there's countless reviews of his use of sound design and how kind of unique and powerful it is, and how much it becomes part of the soul of the movie. And that being, having gone through this process with Duncan, I got to work with like an actual sound designer and post sound people, and it will forever change how I write movies now. It will change how I direct movies now, because you realize how much of a component that is after the fact. I mean, when these guys came back with their like initial pass of the sound design, it completely changed the movie for me. It was like seeing it anew for the first time. It was very, very cool.
That's so cool. It's so awesome when you give your work to somebody, and it's a professional, and they take it and then do their magic to it. It's like, you see what people mean when they say, oh, someone creates value for you. Oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
Exactly. I think They Live is probably just about the best kind of like stepbrother to this movie. That and like King of Comedy was very much part, like structurally was part of the making of this movie, and that kind of sort of like super fan's delusional relationship with a celebrity was sort of like the heart of the conception of Duncan in terms of like structurally speaking, right? Because like you've got the character, and at that point you can kind of drop them into any type of paradigm you want. And so the paradigm that most reflects mine, it would be King of Comedy. But in terms of like messaging and tonality and escapism, I would say They Live.
That's you can make it a triple feature, actually. You could watch Duncan and then go back and watch the two. That's good.
Totally.
That's what that I don't know if you did this, but I'm sure. I think every college town has a small movie theater. At least they did, where they have more than one. They have like double, triple features. And when I was in San Francisco, some guy would do this thing where he'd pick 3 movies that fed into each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the greatest thing you can do for a movie theater, is to like pick 3 movies that have similar themes throughout time and do that.
For sure. Network, this is kind of like a stretch, but Network was like a big inspiration as well. The Sidney Lumet movie.
I can see that, those studio scenes.
Yes, yeah. Like I aped a lot of that like shooting style and monologues and sort of that like very cold perspective on a broadcast company.
I know we didn't talk about with the casting, but that actress was great who played the.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I forget her name. Terry?
The character's name is Terry Lee, and then the actress is Lee Eddy, and she was sort of a gift from the heavens for sure. I've been watching her for years. I think she's one of my favorite actors, period, that I've ever like seen act. And so I always knew I wanted to have her in a movie, and she was originally going to play a smaller part, and I kind of asked her to play a smaller part just because, again, I was punching out of my weight class a little bit, so I just wanted the commitment to be, I didn't want to come at her with some like huge ask, because I wasn't going to be able to pay her enough for what she's worth. And frankly, I wasn't confident enough in my script. But she read the script and was really into it. And her character was supposed to be a man, and it was a man leading up to about 2 or 3 weeks before we started rolling the cameras. It was a male character, and we couldn't find that person. And I was trying to look for an Alex Jones-esque person, but all I was getting were these outstanding impressions of Alex Jones, but impressions at the end of the day. And so it just wasn't right, and I wasn't able to pull the trigger on any of these auditions I was getting back. And then she sort of, I asked her, I was like, do you know anybody that could be good for this? And I was like, at this point, I'm even open to a woman playing the role. And because I thought it was important that it had to be a man, because there's some like there are some sort of thematic elements about machismo and kind of like macho men. So I thought it was important that this villain be a man. And then she said, well, now that you're saying that, I would like to audition for it, because I think I have an idea for this character that would be really great. And that kind of opened me up pretty profoundly. And she sends me back this audition that was incredible, just totally nailed it. And so I kind of rewrote the character top to bottom leading up to production. And it was awesome. She nailed it. And when she showed up on set, it really like helped galvanize the set, because we were about 2 weeks into production and people were starting to get loosey-goosey and they were tired. And when she showed up on set and flies into that monologue that she has at the beginning of the movie, you could just see everybody around the set kind of side-eyeing each other like, holy shit, this is a heavyweight actor stepping in the room.
That's a moment in the beginning of the movie when it brings, I think, the audience to attention, because you're kind of following Karen, and she's an intern, she's new, and doesn't quite know what she's gotten herself into. And then you see her, that monologue just comes in, and it's like, oh crap, this is the world, this is the character, this is the situation she's in. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just, again, it plays into that argument of like character is everything, and finding the right actor to like balloon, to take a character and evolve a character like that is paramount. Money can't buy that type of magic when it comes to storytelling, especially like performance art like this.
This is the point in the interview where I usually ask where we can watch it online. And I know you're currently in talks to distribute. What we can do is later, once you've got a platform, we can make a follow-up video that can promote that platform.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. I'd be way into that. And to that, as far as like where people can see this movie, like, yes, we're like kind of settling on some distribution deal that we've got on the table, but I'm just trying to be very, very connected to social media right now with the movie. I think a lot of times with movies, they'll create a social media presence and then they just kind of set and forget, and because nobody likes to mess around with that stuff unless that's your profession. But I sort of decided to just really embrace it as my like means for delivering this movie. We're keeping everybody really updated on the social media pages. That'll be the first place where we announce the inevitable release of this movie, and I'm fairly confident that we can have it out this year.
Awesome. That's great. So speaking of social media, where can we find you online, John?
So I'm John Valley, and pretty easy to find me. I'm kind of all over the place. On Instagram, it's at John M. Valley. My middle name is Michael. Same thing for Twitter. Same thing for Facebook. And the movie is just Duncan the Movie. At Duncan the Movie on Instagram. Duncan_movie on Twitter, Duncan the Movie on Facebook. So if you just look up like John Valley Pizzagate or John Valley Duncan, you pretty much can kind of like find any of the platforms. It's pretty easy.
So the man is John Valley. The movie is Duncan. We'll keep you posted on when it's coming out, on the release date. And then you can also check out John's social media, and he'll most definitely post it there. Well, John Valley, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I appreciate you doing this, man.
The truth has been heard, and I hope you carry it with you. If you would like to see John's other work, or the films he recommended during this interview, the links are below. Are you a filmmaker? Do you use one of these? Do you walk in the path of the truth and vision? And have you made a film recently and released it online? If so, and you would like to be on my show, DM me on social media or hit me up at heyyoumadeyourmovie@gmail.com, which is right here, filmmaker. So, for the Hey, You Made Your Movie show, I am Carl Diamond, and until next time, keep watching movies, keep writing scripts, keep the dream alive. I can't wait to see all the films you're going to make, but first, you have to make them. I'll catch you next time, filmmaker. Hang in there.